Console, online. HPG connection, online. Educational module, online. All systems, nominal.
Just cutting in here before the episode starts, there was a bit of a recording kerfuffle, and so we ended up having to use the backup, which is not perfect and cut out at one point for a little bit, and so you will have to excuse the audio quality for my track. Thanks. Hello, class, and welcome to On the Origin of Battlemechs Podcast, episode 74. I am your host, Brent Stewart. My co-host today is...
I'm Chandler.
And today we are going to talk about the Stalker, a 85 on average ton mech that has been a staple of the battlefield since its introduction.
It's a blimp with legs. A legged blimp. Is it still a blimp if it has legs?
It just has very robust landing gear, we'll say.
Ah, yes.
Although I don't believe any of them actually do have jump jets, so that would make them a blimp, but you know.
Yet.
So the Stalker is a interesting machine, it is a powerful machine, and it is a scary machine. But that is not how it was marketed by the company when it came out. It was marketed with, it's not flashy, it's not cutting edge, it just keeps coming. And that is what the PR department at Triad Technologies came up with for the Stalker, and they stuck with it for quite a long time because it proved to be true. And its longevity throughout the succession wars proved the marketing correct. Sadly for Triad Technologies, their Stalker would outlive them, but the design was produced by Defiance Industries, Telshire Heavy Industries, and Iron Technologies, given each nation, the Free World League, the Larian Commonwealth, and the Federated Sun, their own flavor of Stalker. The Stalker's relatively low tech level led to it being in continuous production since its release, only having a slight decrease in computing power that has now been surpassed. The Stalker is a common sight in any large intersphere military organization and is commonly considered unremarkable unless a mech warrior is facing one, and then it is terrifying.
Yeah, don't run into one of these without expecting to run into one of these. They're not... The marketing is very spot on. They're not flashy. They're not scary looking, but they're just a pain in the butt to kill, and they've got a lot of guns.
Mm-hmm. So a note is, during the succession wars, the 4P was made by reducing the weapon system to alleviate stress on the chassis structure in order to improve longevity. Also, the Stalker 2 took the Stalker design and stripped it down to its fundamentals and rebuilt it using updated tech, manufacturing processes, and redefined design philosophies to improve the machine's abilities. The Stalker has the design quirks of combat computer, ubiquitous, and no or minimal arms.
It's like a cicada if you look at it. It's just got the pods on the side. So if it really wants to, theoretically, you could run up to someone, spin it really fast, and hit them with it. But you're not going to do that because you're essentially just charging into them anyway at that point.
Wow, I never thought of the Stalker as like the assault cicada, but it kind of is.
I have people I know who like cicadas I need to talk to now and see what they think about this.
So a slight digression, but the cicada, which we have not covered, but I believe it is coming up relatively soon, I think it is an underappreciated mech because often the gameplay that you see in the computer games or on the tabletop is generally not where it shines. It is like several other scout machines where it shines best when it is not actually in combat. You know, that is its role.
Yeah, and the cicada I think also really shines in being able to hunt down lots of light mechs in like a lance or, you know, a couple of lances company size engagements where you're not really seeing that on the tabletop very often. You can't have squads of, you know, lances of cicadas running around the battlefield hunting down locusts en masse because you don't really see locusts en masse.
Mm-hmm. So our first model of the Stalker today is the STK-3F, seen in 2594. And this guy has a movement profile of 3.5. It's got a large laser and an SRM-6 in the right torso, and then it has the same in the left torso. In the right arm, it's got an LRM-10 and 2 medium lasers, and the same in the left arm. It's got 1 ton of ammo for the SRMs in both the left and right torso, and 1 ton of ammo for the LRMs in each arm, and it has 20 single heat sinks.
Yeah, it's undersynced. but that's kind of the thing with the Stalker, is that it's undersynced.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you are using it as a bracket fighter, so you're not really using the medium lasers very often, or the SRM-6s, and you're just using your large lasers and your LRM-10s, or the medium lasers and the SRMs, and you
Mm-hmm.
have quirks on to use that combat computer to keep your heat down, because that reduces the heat you output every turn, it's manageable.
Mm-hmm. No, this model definitely is a bracket fire, and I think it's not a bad one for someone to learn introductory tech, because you can feel like each bracket is substantial enough to make a difference. Because if you're trying to learn bracket firing on a medium mech or some of the heavies, like the long range can feel just insubstantial because it's just an LRM-10 or something like that.
Yeah, and the Stalker is also just a good all-around. Like, if we needed an assault mech, and we needed to just be able to do anything but not be too focused on maneuverability or anything, Stalker's not a bad choice. It can fire support, it can brawl a little bit. It's a good mech that you could throw into a situation and it'll probably do something.
Oh yeah, it's got the indirect fire it can do with the LRMs. It's got the energy weapons for dishing out some good damage, and it's got the SRM-6 if you need to, like, flesh out some infantry of a shopping complex or something, and also take out the garage next door.
I didn't like that garage anyway.
It's always just so hard to make the left turn onto the street. You just it takes forever.
Yeah, just get rid of it. It's gone. SRM-6.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1559 and a point value of 42. We then come to the 3H, seen in 2638, and it has that same movement profile of 3.5. It's got an SRM-6 in both the right and the left torso. It's got 2 medium lasers and an LRM-20 in the right arm, and same in the left arm. It's got 20 heatsink, and it still keeps 1 ton of ammo for each of the systems in the same location. So 1 ton of LRM in the left arm and right arm, 1 ton of SRM in the left and right torso.
Yeah, I think a lot of the fluff says pretty much what I think about this one, is that it is a great siege fighter, because you get that massive amount of long range firepower out of the missiles without overheating potentially as much with the large lasers. Unfortunately, you do only have 6 shots if you fire both your LRMs at once, because you only have 6 shots per ton, which makes it great as a siege fighter, because as either the defender or attacker, you really aren't worried about ammo that much.
No.
You're very close to your supply line at that point.
This guy is very clearly designed to be in for, like, a front. Like, he is integrated into the supply lines. He doesn't go off on his own. He can't run fast enough to go off on his own.
Yeah, very much tied to its supply lines, but very much a mech you don't want to get shot by.
And of course, being an 85-ton machine, it's very well armored. So if it is in a urban setting, which is not bad for it, considering it has the no to minimal arms, not getting caught up on stuff, just moving down the streets, it can just clear a street real quick, and rounding a corner, this is a scary sight.
Yeah, the Stalker, actually, a lot of the pilots what they do is they'll hide in a building, and then as soon as someone walks by, they'll pop out behind them and then light them up, which probably not the best thing to do with the 3H since you got the LRMs, but for like the 3F or some of the later models, it's a very good tactic, because you're a lot better in that close range bracket that you'd be in then.
I mean, throwing 12 SRMs and 4 medium lasers at someone's back is probably going to do something.
Yeah.
So the 3H has a battle value of 1624 and a point value of 42. We then come to the next model, which is the Stalker 3FB, capital F, lowercase b, seen in 2705. So it keeps that movement profile of 3.5. It's got a Guardian ECM suite in the center torso, AER large laser in both the right and left torso. In the right arm, it has an LRM-15 with Artemis 4 and 2 medium lasers, and then it has the same in the left arm. It's got 17 double heat sinks, and it has... Where's the ammo?
3 tons of ammo in the left torso, protected by a case.
Yes, there it is. Thank you. And of course, just 3 tons of LRM because it doesn't have any SRMs anymore, which is a little weird. I was still kind of looking for that SRM ammo in the critical slots, out of reflex.
Yeah, this one did kind of what the 3H did, where it ditched the SRMs and some of the heat sinks to get Artemis 4 on the LRMs, and also bump the LRMs up to 15s.
Mm-hmm.
It also has the ECM suite. I don't remember if we mentioned.
I did mention that, but thank you for double checking.
Okay, yes, it is. This is a very good upgrade.
But of course, it drops some heat sinks. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's a very good upgrade. It drops some heat sinks, but it gets doubles, which is better by leaps and bounds. Yep. You gain 14 heat sinking capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Little light on the ammo. It only has 16 shots for 2 missile launchers, so that, or not 16, that's 24. That's 12 shots per launcher. That's actually not bad.
Yeah.
But any sort of long engagement, and with the math for Artemis making them essentially a missile size larger, the 15s are probably better anyway than the 20s.
Yeah, more efficient.
Yes. And then the ER large lasers are nice. It just lets it reach out a little bit farther.
Yeah. Also extending that short range and medium range a little bit farther helps with your targeting numbers overall.
Yes. I do like that it didn't upgrade the medium lasers to ER mediums and kept them as regular mediums, because they're really there to fill that gap between the mech itself and the range where the LRMs start actually being effective again. That minimum range band, that's what the medium lasers are for, is to protect you there.
Yeah.
Not to be a primary armament.
Also, I think if they upgraded them to ERs, it would definitely mess with the heat sinking capacity. Like, it would just put it in from a toasty boy to a absolute sweat lodge.
Oh yeah, like this thing can fire both the LRM-15s and the ER large lasers and move and only generate 2 extra heat, which isn't bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can fire both the ER large lasers and the medium lasers and generate a little bit of extra heat, not too much. It's
an extra 2
still.
more. Yeah. So it would be 4 extra over capacity.
Yeah, which is still very manageable. Yeah. And then that's not even taking into account the combat computer.
Mm-hmm. So this guy's got a battle value of 2,029 and a point value of 51. We then come to the 4N, seen in 2876. And it has that 3-5 movement profile that we're just going to see it all over the place with assault mechs, because that's generally how they move. It's got a large laser and an SRM-6 in the right torso, and it's got the same in the left torso. It's got a LRM-10 in the right arm and 2 medium lasers in the right arm, and then in the left arm, it has 2 medium lasers. And it's got 1 ton of ammo for each weapon system, so 2 tons of SRM and 1 ton of LRM. It's got 26 heat sinks.
Yeah, 4N. It's an attempt to deal with the heat issues, which I think it's not a bad attempt, but you're a little lopsided now.
Yeah.
But it's a lot better of a city fighter, which is good, if that's what you're using it for anyway. The combat computer, I did look up the rules for that one. It is 4 less heat every turn, so that helps a lot with this mech.
Oh yeah, I do like that it kept both the large lasers and dropped the LRM-10 instead, because I like having weapons that don't take ammo.
Yeah, and the large lasers are nice because they're kind of multi-purpose. Like, they do reach out, but you can still use them in knife fighting range.
Yeah, no minimum range, always a good thing. So this guy's got a battle value of 1558 and a point value of 41. We then come to the 4P.
We do actually have one that we skipped because I don't think you know about it. It's fancy.
Ooh, please do tell.
Okay, so next we have the Stalker 3 FK, a Cretan variant that came out in 2750. It keeps the standard movement profile of 3.5, still with the standard fusion engine. Has 18 double heat sinks, so a total capacity of 36. Same armor value of 216 points, so same armor value as all the other ones we've seen so far, except for the 3FB, which had another couple tons of armor, actually. The main difference is in its armament. So left arm, it's got the LRM-10 and medium laser that you expect. However, it only has 1 medium laser. In the right arm, you then again have a LRM-10 and a medium laser. In the left torso, you have a large laser and 2 streak SRM-2s and a medium laser. And then in the right torso, you have another large laser, 2 streak SRM-2s, and another medium laser. So took some some of the lasers out of the arms into the torso, and then also upgraded the SRMs to Streak SRMs, which I think is a good upgrade. The LRMs also have Artemis 4, I forgot to mention that.
Nice.
And all of the MO is not case protected, so do not get shot in the MO bins.
Generally a good thing.
The MO is stored. You have 2 tons of Streak 2 MO in the center torso, and you've got a ton of LRM 10 MO in both the left torso and the right torso. So definitely well stocked MO-wise, just don't get shot in the MO.
Yeah, well, that seems pretty neat. I do like the streaks. Like, that's always nice to see. I imagine they didn't have the 4s available at that time, because weren't streaks only available in 2s for the longest time?
Yeah, Streak SRMs weren't available in larger numbers until the clans returned, because they developed Streak missiles into 4s and 6s.
Yeah.
Whereas 2s were just a standard Streak system for a while. I can't remember whether Star League had Streak 4s and 6s, but I know that Streak 2s came first. So that's probably why the 3FK has them. It's just because that's what they had on hand.
Yeah.
But the battle value for this bad boy is 1,742, and it has a point value of... Oh boy, where is that on here? Point value of 45.
Nice. So then we have the 4P next in 2998. And this is the model that drops 10 tons. So it's got a movement profile of 3.5. It's got a large laser and SRM-6 in the right torso, same in the left torso. It's got LRM-10 and 2 medium lasers in the right arm and 2 medium lasers in the left arm. It's got 1 ton of ammo for each weapon system, and it has 20 single heat sinks. So just, kind of a succession war, downgrade patchwork. Let's make this thing survive as long as possible. Narratively, I think it's really, really neat. I wouldn't choose to pilot it unless it was necessary, because why would you? Why would you take the downgraded Stalker? But if you're doing a campaign, say, set in the Succession Wars, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and I actually really like the 4P just because I think it shows a idea that we don't see a lot in Battletech, where you could easily just take a mech and not put everything on it, and then it's lighter than it should be, which theoretically should make it go faster, but with the way the rules work on the tabletop, doesn't actually work that way.
Mm-hmm.
The 4P is, I think, a good stopgap for the issues that the Stalker had at the time with the structure not being up to snuff for how much the mech weighed at 85 tons. So ditching an LRM and downgrading the engine to a 225 instead of the 255 was a good move, I think, on their part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they do downgrade the engine in order to keep that movement profile.
Yeah, I do wish we saw more mechs doing something similar, where like it's a really heavy mech, but they're like, oh, we could drop this thing by 10 tons and then just keep everything the same. Like, oh, we'll just ditch, like, let's say it's something similar to Stalker where it's got 2 large missile launchers. Just ditch the 2 large missile launchers, keep everything else the same, and then all of a sudden you've got a faster mech, but you've changed nothing with your production.
Yeah, just think any of the video games, but you don't have access to all that salvage because it's not nearly that nice in the air quotes real world or Battletech universe. Stuff is hard to replace.
Yeah, you might be able to find a Cyclops, but there's no guarantee it'll have a working tactical computer that everyone wants. And Stalker's probably not
working
too far
anything
off with his combat computer. Yeah,
yeah.
Poor Cyclops.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1461 and a point value of 39. We then come to our first named version, the 3F Jaguan. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
Thank you. This has a movement profile of 3.5. It's got a large laser and 2 SRM-6s in the right torso, same in the left torso, and then it's got 2 medium lasers in both the right and the left arm. It has 26 single heat sinks and 1 ton of SRM ammo in both the left and right torso. So definitely a close-in brawler.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, for the issues that the Stalker has during the Secession Wars era, this is a good way to kind of follow what this pilot wanted to do, which was have a close-in brawler, but also be able to still not boil himself alive with the Stalker's tendencies.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you get right in close, you might want to drop those large lasers, but other than that, it's not bad. Like, you'll still be warm, don't get me wrong. Hopefully you're deployed on Tharkad, where it's nice and cold. The blizzards can help cool you down, but otherwise it's going to get real toasty, especially because 2 SRM-6s in each torso, so it adds up quick.
Yeah, somewhere very cold that still has an atmosphere, so those heat sinks actually work.
So it's got a battle value of 1570 and a point value of 40. We then come to the 5M seen in 3050. The 5M has a movement profile of 3.5. It's got an ER large laser in the center torso, a SRM-6 in the right torso, a NARC and SRM-6 in the left torso, LRM-10 and 2 medium lasers in the right arm, same in the left arm. It's got 17 double heat sinks, and it has 2 tons of ammo for the NARC in the left leg, 1 ton of SRM-6 NARC ammo in both the right and the left torso, and it has 2 tons of LRM-10 NARC ammo in each arm.
Yeah, I really like the 5M, except for the fact it's missing case. Although, ironically enough, this, for those of you who listened to, I believe it was the Hoplite episode, when we were talking about the Wolf's Dragoon's first refit of the Hoplite, I mentioned this mech because during the design process, they kind of were like, we don't need case. This is, assault mech. Case isn't needed. And then the clans came along and taught them that, yes, you do need case, because look at all of that beautiful ammo to explode. And so they lost quite a few of these mechs before they figured out that they should probably put case on it. There is not an official refit that adds case to this mech, but if I was to refit it, I would probably just ditch a ton of the NARC ammo and put case in the left and right torso and just call it a day.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the art at the beginning, but this one has the newer art where it really looks like a blimp. Maybe it's just the perspective, but that cone at the front looks stretched out.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It does look more like a blimp, but I will say it's better than the 3025 art, because the 3025 art, it looks like it's moonwalking somewhere.
Yeah, fair.
Because it's the way the legs are drawn, the body is leaning way back and the legs are all the way up underneath the front of the torso. So it's just kind of sitting there. It's supposed to have reverse knees, but actually doesn't.
Yeah. Speaking of knees in this art, I don't really like how the left knee is kind of going into the reverse, but that's kind of because if you look at the feet, it doesn't look like there's any sort of ankle articulation. The lower leg and foot are all just one massive piece of metal.
Yeah. Oh my god, there's a little chibi elemental trying to attack it. It's adorable. In the 3050 upgrades art, there's a little elemental jumping at it. That's not very well. It's there, and it's pretty well drawn, but it's just kind of a sketch art, so it's just kind of
It's like a silhouette almost.
He's like, I'm gonna get you. Give me them knees.
Yeah. Yeah, but overall, this is a pretty good looking mech. I just think some of the designs accentuate the designs that don't particularly work, because if you just have the blimp part shoved back, so it's just kind of like the front sticking out of the boxy sides, it looks quite nice. It looks kind of dangerous, and it looks neat and functional and industrial, which again, works with it's not flashy.
Yeah, and then it's really interesting seeing how it evolves after 3050, the 3050 art, because when you jump to the next one that I know of, which is MechWarrior Online, it does have reverse knees, and the feet also look like they're reversed, so it has almost like a hoof look at the front with the feet.
Weird.
And then there's a toe behind. The torso looks pretty much the same. It does define the cockpit a little bit more, which I think is good, because before it was very undefined and kind of nebulous on where it actually was.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the Kickstarter, because it is part of the Kickstarter, it keeps a lot of the new aesthetics that come from the MechWarrior Online Stalker with the reverse knee, and then the front toe on the foot or toe in air quotes, is much more defined, so it's not as much of a hoof as is just one big toe. And then it has a couple of back toes for balancing reasons, but definitely like it as well.
And it definitely looks like the ankle can move on that version.
Yes, both the MechWarrior Online and the Clan Invasion Kickstarter Stalkers actually look like the ankle is an ankle and not just a piece of girder holding the foot on.
Yeah. I definitely like the new version of the Stalkers. I think they look like they've taken what worked in the machine and cut away all of the fat, and it just is mean looking and dangerous, and it now evokes the dangerousness that its stats always presented it as.
Yeah, this thing definitely looks like some sort of brawler that just wants to throw down, even though it's not got anything flashy to throw down with.
It's just gonna, punch you a million times with small things until you fall over.
Yeah, it will win by outlasting you.
So the 5M has a battle value of 1655 and a point value of 49. We then come to the 5S, also seen in 3050. It's got that 3-5 movement profile. It's got a large pulse laser and an SRM-6 in the right torso, a large pulse laser SRM-6 and an anti-missile system in the left torso. It's got an LRM-10 and 2 medium lasers in the right arm, and same in the left arm. It has 20 double heat sinks, and it has a ton of ammo in the right and left torso for the SRM, and it has a ton of anti-missile ammo in the left torso. Both the right and left torso are protected by case, and then it has a ton of LRM ammo in the right and left arm. How it helps pay for all that weight savings is a XL fusion engine.
So I'm relatively certain this thing actually has single heat sinks still.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it has single heat sinks. For some reason, my record sheet has it in brackets, and my brain was like, oh, brackets, that's doubling the number. Notation.
Yeah.
Bleh.
No, I understand, because when I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, this thing's got double heat sinks, right? And then I had to double take a little bit. Steiners never change.
Everything's designed to operate on Tharkat. It's fine.
What are we going to do? We're going to shove this massive engine in this thing, and then we're going to just give it all the fancy new guns, and then keep the standard heat sinks, because reasons. If you were to take the 5S and the 5M and smash them together, I think that would be a great mech.
See, my issue with this one is the large pulse lasers. Love large pulse lasers. I think they're great. Obviously, the clan versions are the best ones, and the inner spheres are lackluster, but that is a different discussion.
They're manageable.
Yeah, they're short range. So you now have just the 2 LRM-10s as your long-range weapons, and then once you get into short range, you're just going to cook, because the large pulse lasers are 10 heat each. They have essentially the same range brackets as the SRM-6 and the medium lasers, so you are incentivized to fire them all at the same time, but you're going to cook yourself. So you'd have to either drop large pulse lasers or the medium lasers, and then they feel redundant.
Yeah, this mech definitely needs its double heatsink stat.
Yeah.
Also not a massive fan of the addition of the XL engine. For those of you who play MechWarrior Online, Stalkers with XL are a dicey combo because of the way the hitboxes work. Because if someone shoots you in the side of the blimp protrusion, that counts as a side torso, if I remember correctly. Which means that is if you're not facing someone, your side torso is going to just evaporate, which is bad. Kind of need those.
Yeah. For a campaign, it's got case so that it'll be good salvage, but when you're playing just a one-off, that's a dicey proposition.
Yeah, the 5S and the 5M are definitely showing the inner sphere just trying to come to terms with all the new technology they've got and the clan invasion happening at the same time. They're just trying to put things together and get them out there to go get shot at instead of their homes being shot.
Well, this guy's got a battle value of 1423 and a point value of 38. We then come to the 3F Jameson. This mech was clearly purchased by the inheritance that Jameson got from his family's whiskey business.
Yes. Good job, Dragoons. Way to go. Hired the best.
I mean, there's a whole discussion about it, whether Jameson's whiskey is the best, and that is an entirely different podcast, one of which I would pull my old roommate who still works in the liquor industry, because he and I have enjoyed quite many glasses of scotch and talking about, the quality of said scotch.
Yeah.
But all joking aside, so the 3F Jameson was seen in 3054, and it has a movement profile of 3-5. It's got a large pulse laser and streak SRM-6 in the right torso, same in the left torso. Then in the right arm, it's got 2 ER medium lasers and an LRM-20, and same in the left arm. It's got 1 ton of ammo for the LRMs in each arm, 1 ton of ammo for the streaks in each side torso, and it also has Pharaoh and 18 double heat sinks. And one thing I really like to see is it's back to a standard fusion engine. One thing I don't like to see is that it has again lost case.
Yeah. Fun fact, this one has all clan weapons. So I don't have the TRO for this one in front of me, but it's very possible it's intended to have the case built in because it's got clan tech built in, but I'm not sure. Huh, interesting. So I got to get in contact with Megamech then, because their Jameson is base inner sphere, so it doesn't have case, I don't think. I guess you could say it's out of the sphere. That one's for you, Gideon.
It has a battle value of 2707 and a point value of 57. So we then come to the 6M seen in 3062. This guy has that movement profile of 3.5. It's got a ER medium laser in the head, an ER large laser in the center torso, 2 ER medium lasers in the right arm, as well as an LRM-15 with a Artemis 4, and then it has the same in the left arm. It's got 18 double heat sinks. It's got case to protect the left and right torso. It's got 2 tons of ammo in the left torso and right torso for the LRMs, and then an additional ton each of the arms. So it's got tons of LRM ammo.
Yeah, I like the 6M. It also maxes out the armor capabilities, which, I mean, the Stalker was already well armored, so now this thing's just a tank. And with the dropping one of your large lasers to make it an ER and making all the medium lasers ER, you've definitely saddled yourself into that heavy sniper role that the Stalker's been flirting with this entire time.
And I mean, having no SRM6s also helps with that, because, you know, everything is now got a longer range.
Yeah, especially with the Artemis LRM-15s. Those are effectively LRM-20s math.
Yeah.
Weeby-GB, whatever statistics. That's what that's called.
Within a rounding error.
Are statistics. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Definitely like that it has a regular fusion engine again. I do miss the ferrofibrous from the Jameson, but I'm just going to chalk that up to they didn't have enough of it going around to put on the 6M. And they had the tonnage, so why bother?
They also didn't have the critical slots, because everything is filled up except for the 2 slots in each leg that are free.
Oh, that'll do it.
Yeah. So this guy's got a battle value of 2029 and a point value of 51. We then come to the 7D again in 3062. It's got the 3.5 movement profile. It's got a small laser in the head. It's got 2 medium pulse lasers in the center torso, an ER PPC, and a medium pulse laser in the right torso. Same in the left. It's got a targeting computer in the left torso as well. And then it has a streak 4 in the right arm and a streak 4 in the left arm. And to supply those 2 streak missile systems, it has 1 ton of ammo in the right torso, which is protected by case.
Oh, this thing's just brutal. The only way to make the 7D a better mech is to give it clan tech. It's really it, because I don't think it has enough room to put endosteel or ferro. And no. I think an XL doesn't really fit with the theme of the Stalker being just a brutal, hammer to fix the problem situation. So it's just, the 2 ER PPCs with the targeting computer and then all the pulse lasers.
Yeah. This thing is very strong. It can get really hot if you are alpha striking, but you definitely do not want to be alpha striking with this guy. Like, if you are using those medium pulse lasers, you should probably drop at least 1 ER PPC.
Yeah, you'd be able to get by with...
Because it has 18 double heat sinks. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, with the 1 ER PPC and all the pulse lasers, I think you're at a manageable heat level. If you run and fire everything but one of the ER PPCs, you are still heat manageable.
That is assuming that the streaks do fire.
Yes, that's assuming the streaks are firing. So don't get near this guy. It will murder you. It'll be toasty. You'll see it on the infrared, but it'll murder you.
You can figure out where it is the next block over, because that's where the glow is. So this guy is pretty sweet in my opinion, and he has a battle value of 1872 and a point value of 45. We then come to the Stalker 8S seen in 3064, and it has the 3-5 movement profile we know and love. It has a heavy Gauss rifle in the center and right torso. It's got an ER medium laser in the right torso. It's got an ER medium laser in the left torso. It's got an ER PPC and a medium pulse laser in the right arm, and same in the left arm. It's got 16 double heat sinks and 4 tons of ammo for that heavy Gauss in the left torso. It's weird seeing a Stalker without missiles.
So wait, so both the ER medium lasers are in the left torso, or are they split between both torsos?
There's one in the left torso and one in the right torso.
Okay. And then I also only see 3 tons of heavy Gauss ammo.
That is what I have, yes.
Okay. Yeah, this thing's brutal. I kind of like the inclusion.
And to help pay for all that, it's got light fusion.
Yeah, the light fusion's nice. I think it's a good middle of the road between a Innersphere XL and a regular fusion, especially with the Steiners using it, because they seem to be the ones that are throwing it on everything, even though they're not the ones who invented it. You Steiners. I kind of like the idea of the heavy Gauss rifle on it. I think it's just fun because you can kind of see it as like underslung underneath the chin. Yeah. And you know, you see it plodding along, shooting its lasers, and all of a sudden it looks at you, and just all of a sudden, just death from a heavy Gauss rifle, slug to the face, kind of thing. And you see it recoil a little bit, and then it just keeps plodding.
Yeah. I do like this one with the light fusion, unlike the XL on the other ones, because nothing none of the ammo on this guy explodes. But of course, the heavy Gauss will explode if it gets hit, but it's already split into the center torso, so there's like nothing you can really do about it at that point. You know, you're committed.
Yeah, at that point, you're ride or die at that point, and if it gets hit, it's die. At the very least, your engine's not going to be ticking very well.
Yeah. Definitely neat to see the heavy Gauss in action or around. You know, like I like that weapon system. It's a little frustrating sometimes because it gets split mechanically in between the torsos, and I don't know, it just doesn't quite feel right because, as we have mentioned before, in reality there wouldn't be the left or right or center torso. There would just be torso.
Yeah, that's just a game mechanic thing. I've kind of gotten to the point where I just kind of waive the idea of the torsos being different aesthetically or mechanically from a in-universe perspective. The funny thing is, if this thing had a regular fusion engine and moved that right torso ammo to the left torso, you could totally fit it all in the right torso, I'm pretty sure. So you wouldn't need it to be in the center torso, but that's just me poking holes in the Steiners because the Steiners.
Fair enough. So this guy's got a battle value of 2020 and a point value of 42.
That's a good year.
See, I was going to go for like a Hitchhiker's Guide reference because, 42.
That's fair, yeah.
Try to look at the positive, right?
Always look on the bright side of life.
So next up we have the Stalker 7C3BS, which is a mouthful. It's got a movement profile of 3-5. It's got a small VSP laser in the head, so variable speed pulse laser. It's got 2 medium pulse lasers in the center torso. It's got an ER PPC in the right torso. In the left torso, it has a C3 boosted slave and an ER PPC. In the right arm, it's got a medium pulse laser and an MML5. Same in the left arm. It's got 18 double heat sinks, and it has case 2 to protect that ammo in the right torso. It's got 1 ton of LRM and 1 ton of SRM. Also goes back to a standard fusion engine.
Did you mention the C3 boosted?
I did mention the C3 boosted. It's in the left torso, but I mentioned it when I was going through the weapons.
I got distracted by case 2.
But also a lovely bit of kit. Yeah, that's
I got distracted by case.
Yeah, no, the C3 boosted slave is a nice thing to see on this machine because the Stalker has a lot of firepower, and if it can bring it to bear on something from long range, well, something else is close range for it. Like that's That's going to be dangerous.
Yeah, I really like the 7C3BS. It feels a lot like the 7D, just more advanced. Like they took out the SRMs and were like, MMLs, bit more utility, weigh a little bit more, but trade-offs.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of the targeting computer, you go with the C3 boosted, which if you're staying outside of your short range, it will always be better to be in the C3 system if you have short range banned from it, because instead of a -1 to hit, you're getting a not +2 or +3 or +4. You're missing out on all of those horrible modifiers to your shot. And then it's also boosted, so ECM can be useless.
Which anyone who's actually played with the crunchy rules and all of that knows that ECM can be very pivotal.
Yeah, especially if you're using a lot of C3. And you're like, oh yeah, be a shame if I couldn't use the system I spent all this BV on right now.
Yeah.
I do like the small VSP.
So it was seen in 3075, by the way. Mm-hmm.
That's funny. It's cute.
I like VSPs.
Out of
I think they're neat. I think they're cool, but they're like so rare that people don't really get a chance to get familiar with the rules,
Yeah, I just find the small VSP laser in the head just like adorable. It's like, really, out of everything, that is what we put here. It has a range of like 3.
No, it's got a range of 6.
Okay.
So it lines up with the medium pulse lasers.
Oh, okay. That's better then.
Yeah. So this guy's got a battle value of 1712 and a point value of 50. We then come to the Stalker 2, which was seen in 3137, and it is also referred to as the STK-9A. So, nomenclature designation, is it really a different model? ? Shrug emoji.
It's a different model to the extent that the Wolverine 2 is a different model of the Wolverine.
Yeah. So the Stalker 2 has a movement profile of 3-4, which is a little different. It's got 2 medium lasers in the head. It's got a targeting computer in the head. In the center torso, it has 2 medium lasers. In the right torso, it has extended LRM-10s, and same in the left torso. Right arm, it has 2 medium lasers, same in the left arm. It's got 10 double heat sinks, and it has an endosteel chassis, as well as a compact gyro, and it also has a torso-mounted cockpit.
Which is why we could fit all that stuff in the head.
Mm-hmm. Also, the left torso has 2 tons of ammo with case 2, same in the right torso.
This thing just feels... Don't try to just beat this thing to death. You're not gonna... It's gonna take you too long. It's gonna take forever to beat this thing to death. 216 points of hardened armor. That's equivalent to 432 points, which is just ridiculous. That's almost twice the amount of armor this thing's supposed to be able to carry.
Yeah, it is a tank.
The torso-mounted cockpit means if you get shot in the face, it doesn't do much. The compact gyro keeps your gyro intact. This thing is just designed to get beat to hell and keep moving.
Mm-hmm. And it really wants to get in close and just open up with all of those medium lasers and the targeting computer. The extended LRMs are there to plink away at stuff as it closes in, but that is not the point of this machine. It is meant to wade in and soak up damage while everything else pours fire.
Yeah, the only thing I would change if we were to change anything is to make those enhanced LRM-10s, but that is a minor thing to change. And really, I think the extendeds are a nice little touch of flavor to the Stalker 2.
Yeah. Also, I think they work in this one because it's just this is our long-range weapon system now. And, because it also downgrades that movement profile to 3-4 because of the hardened armor, it even running in a straight line, it's going to take forever to get anywhere. So that kind of helps offset that.
Yeah. And I mean, my constant gripe with extended LRM-10s is that they're a pain in the butt to use on the tabletop just because of how large their range is. But fluff-wise...
Well, it's the same problem with artillery,
I like it. Yeah. In universe, I like the idea. Tabletop, it's debatable, but you do get that massive short range.
It's an issue of scale because, it was designed to be played on a tabletop. So this guy has a battle value of 2261 and a point value of 35. And the Stalker 2 definitely looks good. It's very similar to the Kickstarter art, which again looks very good. So yeah.
Yeah, it feels a little blockier than the Kickstarter art, which makes sense just because it is hardened armor.
Mhm.
I do really like the art that does exist of it because it does have Leonidas battle armor, which is like one of my favorite sets of battle armor on it as well. And one of them's even using his little shield and has his gun out, and he's like, "I will defend you, Stalker." Too. It's adorable. This is Chandler's. I'm gonna fawn over battle armor art that is not actually the focus of the episode.
And of course, it doesn't actually have it up on master unit list, so to Sarna we will go.
He's got a little shield, and it's like, I will take. Wow. Actually, that's interesting. I never noticed this before.
I really like that battle armor, except for the I don't like the Mohawk like Spartan headgear thing. If it lost that, I think it would look really, really good. I get why it's there. I'm just saying.
Fun fact: look at its feet, and then look at the Stalker's feet. What do your elf eyes see? I see almost the same feet. They're built to be together.
Yeah, they are quite similar. Yeah, the Leonidas is a little more blocky, but very, very similar nonetheless.
Yeah, who would have thought that two units built by the same nation would look similar? I would never have assumed that.
I do declare. Well, so next up, we have our pilot profiles for the Stalker. And to start us off, I'm going to throw over to Chandler.
All right, pilot profiles. First up today, we have Captain Tiberius Sartini. Sartini is a part of the Avalon Hussars with the Free Worlds League, and he has been a pilot for 20 years, which we don't have a lot of information on the average lifespan of mech pilots, but 20 years seems like a pretty long time. He has an immense pride in his Stalker, which has been reflected, pun intended, in the mirror shine of its armor. Even with it being severely damaged in many battles, he has always been able to find all the parts to repair it to pristine condition. In addition, he has been stockpiling spare parts for it, which is not exactly legal, but his first priority is to keep his Stalker in pristine condition, so more power to him, I guess. Just don't get caught. I hear the Regulans take things a little seriously.
So next up, we have Colonel J. Elliot Jameson. And Elliot holds the record within the Wolf's Dragoon Zeta Battalion as the longest surviving colonel, having refused promotions and wished that he remain where he is most effective. Despite serving a long tenure, he retains all his drive and combat prowess. He believes in leading from the front in his battle-scarred but completely operational Stalker.
Next up, we have Captain Hubert Glass. Captain Glass leads an assault company in the 5th Marik Militia, Go Free Worlds League. During an engagement with Capellan raiders on Lahalis, that's side note, extremely hard to tell how to pronounce things sometimes in Battletech because so many different languages are used in so close of an area. You're like, is this supposed to be Spanish, French, English?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
It's Inner Sphere Soup.
Yeah, Esperanto. Against Leah Raiders on Lahalis. That's what I'm going to go with. I'm sure it's wrong. Sue me. In 3039, his company was separated from the rest of their battalion and surrounded by 2 full companies of Liao Vindicators and Cataphracts. Glass, after listening to the commander's harangue about surrendering to him, stood on his couch, opened up the hatch, made a rude gesture to the commander, which I assume is either 1 finger or 2 finger, depending on which side of the pond you're on.
Yep.
And then sat down and sealed up his mech and buckled in for the fight. So furious was the militia company's fire, the Liao commander actually had his cataphract disabled before he could even do anything in response. In 10 hectic minutes of combat, the assault company annihilated the 2 companies while only losing 5 mechs of their own. So good job, 5th Marik Militia. And good job to make a Liao commander angry, but unable to do anything about it.
So next up, we have Captain Horo Wandering Eye Sorphilis. I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name. Sophalfis, I think. I gave it the college try.
Yeah, I refer back to the last verse of Inner Sphere Soup in Esperanto.
Yeah. Anyway, Wandering Eye was the favorite attack dog of Colonel Dana Briggs of the 1st Free World League Guard and served during Operation Bulldog and fought in the Great Refusal. He is considered to have little to no restraint and will savage his foes and barely keep it together off the battlefield battlefield, but this was not always the case. For early in his career, he was reserved and controlled. That was until the invasion of Safi in 3057, when a Fedcom lucky shot touched off his ammo bins. He ejected, but was still exposed to neurofeedback, causing his personality to shift. Moral of the story, the Free World League needs better healthcare.
Shh. We don't need better healthcare. That costs money. We don't have money. And before the Fedcom and Draconis Combine say they gave us a lot of money, that doesn't exist. The Word of Blake took it from us.
You lost it all in your tithes?
Yeah. Well, they also stole it. We'll get there eventually, but effectively they levied essentially a tithe on HPG traffic through the Free Worlds League, and then they found out later someone had done it, doubled it without telling anyone.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So we didn't have any money, but we didn't.
Thanks, Space AT&T.
Yeah, Space AT&T got us again.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Banner Marcel Dryden, who works for the Andurians in the 2nd Andurian Guards. During a recent intelligence raid by the 2nd Orient Hussars, there's a lot of seconds in this, Dryden's lance attempted to ambush part of the oncoming company, but his lieutenant sprang the trap too early and ended up getting himself killed. Dryden ended up taking command of the lance and rallied to salvage the ambush, and his directions resulted in the destruction of 2 of the Orient lances. His company commander has requested of the Andurian Defense Forces to make Dryden's breveted rank of lieutenant an official commission, but so far nothing has come of it. My guess, he's probably going to get it.
Sounds like he earned it.
Yeah, I mean, making his failed ambush a success tends to get you brownie points with command, I would think.
So next up, we have Matsuoka Reina. I probably butchered that, but at least I know what language I butchered this time. They have the distinction of being one of the few Ronin that survived Theodore's crackdown on the traditionalists. And they also sided with Marcus Carita in 3034. When things didn't go well, or as they planned, he escaped to the periphery with his Stalker. He then wandered from world to world, plying his trade wherever he could to make his way. And he was known particularly for taking contracts that opposed Theodore Carita. The ISF tracked his movements to the Serna March in 3049, where he disappeared. Many think he has passed away from either age or something going wrong in a back room, although some claim that he is now the leader of the Black Dragon Society, which has, at that point in history, seen a resurgence.
Dang Black Dragon Society. Bad people. Finally, we have the mech warriors Krista and Lindsay, who are part of the Atrian Dragoons and fought on the planet of Rexburg against Clan Wolf. They were part of the 13th Atrian Dragoons, and the Clan Wolf attacked the planet, and the Atrian Dragoons, needing a refit, decided to retreat to the dropship and leave the planet. However, being in a pair of Stalker 2s, they were unable to keep up with the rest of their forces, and they ended up volunteering to fight as a rear guard and buy more time for the rest of the company. Cresting a hill, they broadcast to the Wolf Dragoons their intent to fight them, and the Star Captain said he would attack with his entire force, which ended up being a binary of each of light battlemechs and vehicles. One of the mech warriors offered to wait until they could bring up more mechs. Of course, insulted by the jab, the Clan Wolf forces attacked and started a running battle known as the Battle of Rum Ridge, which the 2 mech warriors would use the extended range LRMs to shoot at the Clan forces before they could even get into range of their weapons, and would essentially end up doing a leapfrog tactic back using the terrain to their advantage. They quickly destroyed the vehicle binary and waited for the Clan battlemechs. Unfortunately, one of the Stalker 2s fell, losing much of their armor, and then one of the legs, knocking them out of the fight. Next, the other pilot ended up fighting to the end in a huge warehouse battle, which was filled with rum of all things. So if you like rum, don't read this part because there's lots of rum being destroyed without being drunk.
We call that alcohol abuse.
Yes. And he ended up actually destroying the last 4 Clan battlemechs. And at the end, his Stalker was seemingly immobilized, and when the survivors closed in, they found that despite his cockpit getting struck by 2 SRMs, 5 LRMs, and a medium laser, the hardened armor cockpit was never breached. However, he had died from neuro helmet feedback and spalling from the strikes. So he bled out in his command chair with his hands still on the controls. Just goes to show you how tough hardened armor is and how hard it can be to take down a mech sometimes.
Mm-hmm. For our data dive today, I'm going to throw over to Chandler, who is going to continue to talk about the Free World League.
Yes, so today's data dive will be jumping back into the Free Worlds League history, and we will be starting with the ascension of Albert Marik to the Captain Generalcy in 2511. He picked up from the very successful but rather dull reign of Byron Marik. Albert was given the title of the Great as a joke due to his small size. However, Albert Marik was still immensely successful in almost all things except for leading troops from the front. Pun intended, of course, with the shortfall. However, this did not stop him from commissioning a custom Griffin battlemech, which was adapted to both his stature and equipped with advanced communications gear to allow the mech to act as a mobile command post. In 2823, only 12 years into his tenure as the Captain General, the Free Worlds League compelling Commonwealth border went hot again, of course, with the Second Andurian War. This war would rage for 3 years, with neither side gaining an advantage, until Ian Cameron, our favorite Cameron, offered to mediate for both sides. This mediation would eventually evolve into the Treaty of New Delos, which would essentially reaffirm the decision from the First Andurian War, which boils down to self-determination for the Andurians in the idea that they would choose between the Capellan Confederation or the Free Worlds League in the future, and would also settle a number of other border disputes that led to the Second Andurian War. Unsurprisingly for us now, the region would erupt again in 2551, a mere 25 years after the Second Andurian War, into the Third Andurian War. This would, of course, last for 4 years, and Ian Cameron would yet again step in to act as a negotiator between houses Marik and Liao, which would result in the Andurian Peace. These negotiations would show the willingness of Albert Marik to sacrifice for what could be considered the greater good, in air quotes, with Albert ceding the Andurian worlds to the Capellan Confederation in their entirety, despite the Free Worlds League military dominance in the war. This sacrifice was used as a lure for the Confederation to sign onto the fledgling Star League with the Treaty of Geneva shortly after. It should also be noted that many histories gloss over that as part of the exchange, Albert Marik secured the rights to the Free Worlds League's seat on the Star League Council for House Marik, essentially sealing the dominance of his house in the Free Worlds League for the duration of the Star League. You ever say a word so often it loses its league?
Yes, I have.
Between the Treaty of New Delos, the Andurian Peace, the Treaty of Geneva, a partnership between Ian Cameron and Albert Marik would develop, where Albert would eventually help cajole and entice the other houses to sign on to the nascent Star League. This was done via economic pressures and political manipulation, with the Lyrans unwilling to potentially be left in the economic dust of a Free Worlds League, Capellan Commonwealth, Terran hegemony economic zone, and the Federated Suns through destabilizing their economy. However, the Draconis Combine would be a harder nut to crack, with the Free Worlds League economic or political pressures unable to make the Combine yield. But eventually the Combine would sign the Treaty of Vega in 2569, having all of the great houses sign on to the Star League. The assistance of Albert Marik and the Free Worlds League in the Star League's formation would largely stay unsung and not widely known outside of the close circles of both the Captain General and the Hegemony Director, who is, of course, at this point now the First Lord. Bit of a step up. And the next 2 years would see the forging of the Star League from a series of papers to an actual government. But of course, with this being Battletech and not Peace Tech, the quiet would not last.
That is, of course, assuming that the Star League era was actually peaceful, when we know it was directed outward instead of inward.
We will spread our peaceful means by force. The Star League would, of course, start off with a bang with the Pollock's Proclamation in 2575. This peacefully, in air quotes, extended the Star League to the periphery states. In reality, this was effectively a declaration of war. Josh was not here, but I feel like he just sat up and was like, someone mentioned the periphery and Star League at war. He's looking around trying to figure out what's going on.
In the distance, I can hear Cameron War of Aggression.
Yeah. Free Worlds League forces would make up the majority of the 7th SLDF Corps, which was aimed squarely at the Magistracy of Canopus. Marion Marik, Albert Marik's daughter and the new Captain General, would lead the charge. However, the war would be slowed down by Canopian counterattacks, such as the ambush at Vicarel in 2577 or the strike at the SLDF transportation hub at Meadowvale. That's nice to pronounce. I can do that. I can do Meadowvale. Despite these setbacks, Marion would still hold to the Ares conventions even after the Star League suspended the conventions in 2579 and would ensure her personnel treated the prisoners well. The Canopian capital would eventually be captured in early 2584 after the destruction of the Canopian war fleet at Thurrock. Despite this, it would still take another 4 years of fighting for the 7th SLDF Corps to secure the Magistracy of Canopus. During the war, Marion Marik, tongue twister, developed a respect for her Canopian opponents, unlike many of the other House and SLDF forces. Due to this, many Canopian institutions were left in place by the SLDF, preserving their society and installing the Star League as more of an overarching liege lord rather than direct governance as what happened in some of the other periphery states. Between this and the acts of Melissa Humphreys, the appointed governor of the region, who also came from the Free Worlds League because, of course, she would convince the Free Worlds League to pour funding for reconstruction and economic efforts in the Magistracy, and this would develop a good working relationship between the Free Worlds League, the Canopians, and the Star League bureaucracy in the area. Due to these efforts, the resistance to the occupation quickly dissipated, and the Magistracy of Canopus was admitted to be a full member of the Star League in 2604, the first of the major periphery powers to do so. You Taurians, they did it first. Ha!
Oh, what can you say? Sex sells, right?
Dang it. I was wondering if we were going to be able to get through this without that. The answer is no.
I mean, economically, it makes sense. Like, if you're getting your butt
Yes.
kicked and, like, everybody wants to chill, like, yeah, it makes total sense to me that the Magistry was the first one to sign on board because, like, they've always been a economic powerhouse of the periphery, like, in the sense of entertainment as well. And, oh, we can export to the whole inner sphere? Sure, why not?
Everyone's kicking our butt. We might as well sell it to them. So this is where we will leave off. A Star League born and a Free Worlds League working both in the shadows and in the light to see it built. Nothing could possibly go wrong, right? Right, guys?
Right.
Nothing could possibly go wrong, right?
It's all good. All good. Our sources for today are Sarna, Battletech Battlemech Manual, Master Unit List, Mordell.net, TRO and RS Succession Wars, Historical Operation Klondike, Record Sheets Operation Klondike, Historical Turning Points Misery, TRO 3050, Record Sheets 3050, Unabridged Inner Sphere, TRO 3085, Record Sheets 3085, Unabridged Old is the New, TRO 3145, and Record Sheets 3145, Unabridged.
We also used Handbook House Marik and Free Worlds League Technical Readout 3145. There we go. That's the word.
This podcast is made possible by our supporters on patreon.com/on the Origin of Battlemechs, link in the description. Our social media on Twitter is at Origin of Mechs. We also have a community Discord, the Armory of Ouroboros, link in the description. You can email us at ontheoriginofbattlemechs@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review on your platform of consumption, tell your friends about us, and share on your community platform of choice. Special thanks to my friend Laura for the intro and outro. Class dismissed. Everybody have a great day.
Stay safe out there.
Module complete. System standby. Would you like to load the next module?
I almost said his line. I'm so used to hearing it next.
I was going to ask, were you waiting for him to sign off as well?
I almost said it. I was just going to say it. And I was like, wait, no, it's not me. He says that.
Really, Major?
Yeah, major
Cat
malfunction,
knocking
brother.
everything over.
That's what cats are for.
It's
why
true.
we
He's
know the
adorable.
Earth's not flat, because if the Earth was
Because
flat,
they would have
wouldn't
pushed us all off
anything.
it. Yeah,
They would have pushed everything off by now.
it's
a
true.
fact. Checkmate, flat earthers.